Hey, everybody, welcome to Sales Week. Let's get this party started. It's a bit of a quiet party, though. No music today. I don't want Meta to ban me or YouTube. So we're kicking things off proverbial party style to help you ignite your sales and your marketing this week. So today we're talking about selling on social. This full week, you're going to be joining me for some live sessions on how to get more people inquiring, get them booking with you. And we're kicking it off with the thing I know and love best is social media. While you're here joining me live, jump in the chat. Let me know where you're tuning in from. Come say hello. Get nice and cozy. I am sipping on airport water. Just got off of a flight not 40 minutes ago, which, you guys know what that's like. Airport water for me. What's everybody else sipping on? Coffee, tea? Let me know in the chat. But I've got my airport water with electrolytes in it. So we're staying hydrated. We're a hydrated girly today. So we're talking sales and specifically selling on social media and how to switch your strategy up to get more people inquiring and booking with you. Here's what I'll say. We're at an interesting time in social media, intersecting with AI, intersecting with the real world, intersecting with travel. So let's talk about what you can do starting today, right now, right after you stop listening to me and go and get right into it, what you can do to start getting more inquiries and more bookings. First thing I'll say is social media is a long game. It is one of those things where you've put in the time over time, and then the results start to build and build and build. But I want to open up by reminding you that what's no longer working on social media anymore, what hasn't been working for a few years now, something I've talked about, but I want to press upon again here still because it is easier to hide than it is to do what is working. And what is no longer working is stock photos of properties with vague captions written by ChatGPT. ChatGPT is new, but old, outdated marketing strategy is not new. And I'm seeing people fall into this trap because they go to ChatGPT, they write stuff, and it sounds great. It sounds like the brochure, and it sounds like it covers all the bases, but generic content is no longer working. Hiding behind beautiful sunsets and gorgeous properties is no longer working. If you are hiding in your content, as in you're not showing authority, people don't know who you are, they have never seen your face in your feed, you're hiding from sales and you're hiding from bookings. So a few things I want to let's clear the energy right away. There is absolutely enough business to go around. The travel industry is a $1.5 billion, no, I said that wrong, $1 trillion industry. So there is enough to go around. So if you find yourself thinking, well, I don't know, or feeling like you have to fight for your little piece of the pie, here to remind you that there's plenty, but it's all about how you show up to capture your little piece of the pie. So you can get consistent inquiries and bookings, and it's absolutely possible. There are travel advisors in my community. There are travel advisors I talk to are not in my community every single week who are killing it, who are doing very, very well. So I'm going to share some of the things that they're doing. I will also share some of the things that I see working on social media right now, converting really well and doing really well. But you don't have to wait for the economy or the industry or the consumer mindset to change. You can always change how you show up. That is the thing that you have control of on social media. How you show up, what you put out there, putting the best foot forward so you can attract the right people. You always, always, always have control of that. Even when things are volatile, even when things are crazy. Somebody said to me the other day, I'm trying to create my own economy. I don't know. I haven't fully unpacked that statement yet, but I think what I took from it is, how do I create a business in a scenario where, not that it's not fully, that's impenetrable. That will stand the test of time despite what's happening in the world. So social media is one of those ways. You've never had more access and opportunity to reach potential clients than ever before than right now in this very moment, thanks to social media. So now is the time to really lean in and embrace it. If you haven't already, I'm going to assume that if you're here right now, you've probably tested the waters, you've probably posted. But what we're going to do is we're going to go at it with a lot more intention, a lot more strategy. So a few things. I already shared that the travel industry is a $1.5 trillion industry. It's expected to grow another 6 to 10% by 2026. The average salary for a travel advisor, though, is still only $25,000 a year. And We're here to change that. That's part of why we're here right now. So you have the tools and the know-how to get out there and get it because it is available to you. It is there. People are traveling more than ever before. So why not with you? Why not having you plan that trip? So we don't have a travel problem. We don't have a problem with people not wanting to travel. They absolutely do. What we have is a sales problem. What we have is an outreach problem. What we have is a problem with maybe how you've shown up or how you have the type of showing up you've given yourself permission to do over the years. So hiding hurts your sales. That's the bottom line. And it is undeniable that when you show up to sell, you will get more clients. Clients don't just buy from faceless brands anymore. We're seeing brands across the board. Whether you're Nike or you're a mom and pop shop, showing your face now converts better than ever. This is why so many brands are tapping into influencers, having their own in-house influencer, user-generated content. Have you noticed recently that when you scroll on Instagram, sometimes you don't even know you're looking at an ad? Sometimes you stop and you think that it's an organic video, but it's actually an ad. That is the shift that we have made. Nobody is billboarding. I mean, they are a little bit, and you have to sell, but it's very, very casual now. It's very laid back now. It's very deliberate and very focused and very conversational. So we know now that people don't buy from faceless brands. They buy from people that they trust. And especially when it's something as intimate as travel, they want to know who they are buying from or buying with or planning with. The next thing is the algorithm now rewards connection more than ever before. So face-to-camera content always gets pushed more. There is no way around that anymore. I've been saying for 2-3 years now, you have to show your face on camera. You have to show your face on camera. It's not maybe you should try now. It's like you absolutely have to if you want to get seen in the feed, if you want people noticing you, if you want people to stop the scroll, you have to show your face now. So without consistent visibility, you're invisible when someone is ready to book. So of course, the name of the game is and will always be consistency with social media. That's a big part of what you do, but being more deliberate and more intentional with that visibility is the key. So it's not about becoming an influencer. And you guys can tell me in the chat, do you feel like that is what you're expected to do now? I want to hear your thoughts. Do you feel like part of being a travel advisor now requires you to become a little bit of an influencer and to become a little bit of like a face on camera personality? I want to hear from you in the chat. But it is about showing up with the kind of authority and value that makes people think, I need that person to plan my trip. I need that person to take care of everything for me. You're not going to necessarily feel comfortable with that at first. It's going to be difficult. I see tons of people in the chat. Selling without being salesy. Yes, that's a great way to put it. And that is absolutely it. I call it subliminal selling, where every single time you post on social media, you are selling in some way or another, but you're not always saying, book now. Here's 7 nights in Jamaica. You're always selling yourself and your business and your value in some way every single time you post and put content out there, but it doesn't necessarily always mean book now. Love it. Chris says, I feel like I need to give value to the watcher. They need to feel like they're going to gain something that matters to them. That is absolutely one of the keys to this, is absolutely being mindful of what does the audience actually need to hear. We're going to dig into that. That's actually my first point. And we're going to segue to that in a minute, but I want to hear what other people have to say as well. Feels like we're competing with influencers. That's a really good point, Sue. Yes, I must show my face. I am my brand. Travel influencer somewhat. Yes, I feel like I have to be an influencer. Okay, so here's the beautiful part about being a travel advisor. The beautiful part about being a travel advisor, and this is part of the shift we're going to talk about today to making your content, is that you don't need to compete with influencers. You can look at influencers as almost like your little backup squad or team that's out there telling people about all the cool, nice places that they can go and getting them inspired to want to travel. So you have the inspirational phase where someone thinks, oh, I think I want to go there. And yes, some of your content should reflect that. But the beauty of having influencers like do that work for you is that, boom, you get to show up as the expert who's going to bring that inspiration to reality. So instead of competing with influencers, you're working kind of alongside them. You're piggybacking off of the influence that they have, the inspiration that they're putting out there, that they're getting people to want to travel. We thank them for that, but you're showing up as the expert, the resource, the bridge to where they want to get to. And that requires a little bit of strategy. We're going to talk about it right now. So let's dive right in, because that's the shift. And that is part of what we're going to talk about today. So I'm so happy someone brought up feeling like they need to compete with influencers, because you don't. What you are going to do, though, is you're going to piggyback off of the work that they're already doing. So we want to reframe your authority a little bit here, because this shift on social media is everybody's posting this very casual authority content. It's no longer news anchor speaking to the camera. It's very casual now. It's very conversational now. It comes with a lot of ease. And that requires you to step into your role as the authority and as the expert and really own that. And yes, it can be a little bit intimidating, because number one, you do have influencers, and we don't know how they pay their bills, but they always seem to be somewhere, right? They're always on a jet or a plane or whatever, somewhere. It's like, how do they have all this time to travel? But you are an expert, and it's about being approachable while showing your stuff. And really, you don't need to have visited everywhere. You don't need to know every single thing. What you need is to just be one step ahead of your client's needs and to really understand what it is that they're looking for. You know more than the average person about travel, and embrace that. Let that sink in, because we really can fall into this trap of this imposter syndrome of thinking, well, I don't really know. I haven't been to that place. I don't guarantee you're going to know quicker than most people how to find that information. Who knows that information if you haven't been to a place? So authority comes from sharing firsthand experiences or your clients' experiences. So maybe you haven't been to a destination yet, but your clients have been, or maybe you know people in destinations, so you have access to vetted information. Authority comes from telling stories that teach people, and it comes from giving specific, useful insights. So to Chris's point about giving value to the user, absolutely. We want to give value, we want to educate, but the difference and the shift is now that we're not just sitting up there and saying 5 places to go in Paris. Some people are still doing that, but that's slowly but surely not working anymore. What you're going to say is, if you're going to Paris, I have 5 cafes that I just visited while I was there. So instead of just feeding people information and treating it like you're an encyclopedia, now the authority comes from personal, useful insights. So even if you haven't necessarily been to a place, you can still frame your content from that place. So instead of the generic reasons to go to Rome, yes, they can probably go and Google reasons to go to Rome, and they'll find 10,000 different examples. They could go ask ChatGPT why they should go to Rome or reasons they should go to Rome. Reasons I go to Rome every single time I'm in Italy. The number one reason that nobody expects that I love Rome for. So you're personalizing everything and you're giving useful personal insights. That is the key now to stepping into that authority, is everything has to come from you. It is about you. You are the expert. And while you are there as the expert and the guide to help your clients have elevated trips that are better, ultimately, any sort of value or educational content now has to make this shift from generic, I could have Googled that, to, oh, that was really thoughtful. And that doesn't mean you're necessarily always sharing like this mind-blowing new thing, but framing it from your own expertise automatically gives it a fresh spin. So Paris is so romantic. That is generic. But sharing the side street cafe I recommend in Paris every time I go. Now you have my attention. Okay, great. I'm getting something juicy that this person has done and vetted or experienced, or that you sent your client to experience. So what's working now? I'm going to share with you 4 shifts to make in your content. We've already kind of started unpacking some of these, but I want to highlight them more specifically. You can make notes on these. So the first thing is showing up with your own insights, which is a nice segue because we kind of already talked about that. But we don't want you to be a brochure anymore. You are not the supplier's brochure. You're not the destination or the hotel's brochure. You want to be sharing content that reflects your own. Sorry, guys, I'm getting a call. I don't know who that's from. Stop. You don't want to just be a brochure for that destination or that hotel or that supplier. You want to share your own take, lessons that you learned, your client's stories, experiences. That's what people are craving now, especially now that information is so readily available at our fingertips 24/7, whether it's Google or ChatGPT or Gemini. We can find the baseline level general information now very, very easily about any place, any destination, any hotel. We'll get an overview in 2.5 seconds. What's missing from so much of that is your own insights. So the shift you're making now is my own expertise, what I recommend doing in Paris, where I booked my clients and when they went to Paris last. The number one resort I'm loving right now for families. It's about you and at rooting everything in your own expertise and your own insights. And that is also how you sort of like start to shift away from I'm just an influencer, I'm just here to influence people and tell them where to go, versus I'm an expert and I'm positioning this piece of information from what's most valuable to my ideal clients. So if I am a luxury travel advisor, I specialize only in women's travel, let's say, for example, I would put a spin on all of my content that's specifically for women. The number one neighborhood to stay in if you're a solo female traveler going to Paris. The number one neighborhood I recommend for solo females in Paris. So you're rooting everything from your own insights. You're adding a nice layer that's niche focused because you want to grab attention from the right people. But in doing this, you're not just throwing more information out there at them that they're going to have to sift through and figure out. You're already slowly but surely starting to frame for them, oh, okay, so that's where I could stay, or that's what I could do, and vetting that information for them, starting to position yourself as the expert. So destination content should be filtered through your perspective always. There's no reason to be using supplier or the tourist boards like written copy and posting it anymore. Absolutely, you should never. And even ChatGPT, because I could go on ChatGPT right now and ask it to write fun things to do in Grenada or fun things to do in Barbados, and it will give me a list of those things. But a client could do that too. So now it comes down to, what did I do when I was in Barbados last? What did I really love about the Friday night fish fry or the catamaran or whatever I did there? So personal perspective, we're layering that in really nicely. The next thing is understanding your audience psychographics. So you probably know their demographics, their age, maybe how many kids they have, their median household income. That's all really good stuff to have in your ideal client avatar. But what you cannot miss in your ideal client avatar, what I would argue is even more important, is their psychographics. So understanding what are their fears, what are their frustrations, what are their desires around the type of travel that I plan specifically. And then you're using that language, those challenges, those desires, the things that they actually want in your content. Because most people don't just want like a 7-night hotel in Jamaica. That's like the practical on paper thing that they want. But what they really want is like, oh, I just want to sit in a lounger and sip an Aperol Spritz and I don't want to stress for a week. Or I just want to be able to finally read this book that's been sitting on my nightstand for 6 months. But every time I crack it open, the kids come into the room and I can't finish it. So they want ease. They want just relaxation. Maybe they want to reconnect with their partner. And so understanding that and approaching your content from that perspective is so different, right? It's different to say, here's a resort in Jamaica I can book you, or 5 resorts in Jamaica to book you, versus 5 resorts in Jamaica with killer kids clubs so you can finally finish that book that's been on your nightstand. Boom, you now have that woman, that mom, that dad's attention. So this is the shift in understanding what is it that they actually want. So I'm going to give you guys a really easy prompt for this that you can use with ChatGPT or Claude or any AI tool. You're going to open it up. You're going to ask it, list out, I'm a travel advisor specializing in insert niche. List the top 10 fears, frustrations, and desires my ideal client has around this type of travel. So I'm a travel advisor specializing in honeymoon travel to Hawaii, the Caribbean, and Mexico. List for me the top 10 fears, frustrations, and desires my ideal clients have around this type of travel and around these destinations. And boom, it's going to give you all sorts of stuff. You can ask it to put it in a chart for you as well. So now we've stripped the layers down. We've gone a little bit deeper because it's not just surface level, like reasons to go to Paris. It's now where to go in Paris if you're a couple who loves food and wine, or has been dying to try some Michelin star restaurants for the last 6 months. So you're really thinking about what is it that they actually want and what is the transformation that they want. And now we're infusing that in our content. So when people are scrolling by, they're like, oh my God, yes, finally someone understands that all I want is just to finish that Colleen Hoover book that's been on my nightstand for 6 months and I cannot get it done because the kids keep bugging me. And I just need a few days break. We want them to feel that way about your content. Like, boom, this person just gets me. They know exactly what I want. So use that prompt, plug it into ChatGPT, start to get some ideas of what your ideal clients are thinking about, those fears, those frustrations, and then those desires, because ultimately you as the travel advisor want to show them that you understand their fears, you understand their frustrations, and the thing that they actually want, you have the key to it. You are the bridge to it. You're going to make it happen easier, quicker, faster, and with more precision than they could by themselves. So this is all about making them feel seen and heard. So having that data and having that information about them is really, really useful and very helpful. I'll repeat the prompt one more time. I'm a travel advisor specializing in insert niche, and you can also add the destination. So you don't need to do that part, but that's a nice added layer because each destination also has its own complexities. So I'm a travel advisor specializing in insert type of travel to insert the places. List for me the top 10 fears, frustrations, and desires that this type of client has, and it will give you a full list. Absolutely. Chris says, I can imagine that offering your own authentic spin builds trust over time. And that is the key with social media, is compounding trust over time. Most people, 99% of people, are not just going to scroll by your Instagram, see it once and say, boom, I'm ready to book. Unless they're like, I need a trip, I need to leave tomorrow. And in that case, that might be a little stressful for you. But most people are going to click the follow button. They're going to follow along for a while. They're going to see what you're all about. You're going to nurture them over time. It's not an immediate thing, but social media compounds. That every single time you post is a compounding effect of building trust, credibility, authority with people. So when they are ready to book, you are top of mind with them. All right. So we have already covered showing up with your own insights and your own expertise, mixing that into your content, your destination content, your hotel content, anything that you're talking about, or from that inspirational angle, you're always adding your own take to it if you can. The second thing is understanding those psychographics. Now you have a nice prompt you can use in GPT to brainstorm some of that. And then the third is leading with value and pivoting to not try and sell to the skeptics. So I see a lot of travel advisors still posting content like that. I think we've moved past. This why work with a travel advisor. Like, let's get out of that trope. Let's stop trying to justify to people why you exist and that your job still exists. Instead, we're going to show them why they should work with you. Instead of saying, why work with a travel advisor? We save you time. We make travel stress-free. We've seen that again and again and again and again, to the point now where it's like almost meaningless. So instead of telling people, you want to show people. And so you are leading with what's helpful. You're leading with experience-rich content that makes your client say, that's exactly what I need. So you're always leading with your value and thinking about all of the different ways that you deliver value instead of just saying it. What are some instances, some things you're doing every day in your business, some client examples that show that value in action? Instead of saying, I make picking resorts easier, you can tell a story of, last week a client came to me with 10 different resort options. She was so overwhelmed after scrolling on Instagram. And I looked at that list and almost right away could tell that at least 7 of those resorts were not going to be a good fit for her based off of the type of travel she said she wanted. So we were able to do XYZ to help her pick a resort. So instead of telling people, I will help make it easy for you, or I will make it stress-free, that stuff is almost meaningless now unless you can prove it, unless you have examples of how you can do it. And if you're a new travel advisor and you don't necessarily have a client example, you can always still tell an anecdote that pulls them into the story or pulls them into a story where they can imagine themselves. So if I were a new travel advisor and I've only booked like my friends and my family, and I'm really just working on trying to get my first few clients in the door, and so I don't necessarily have an example of a honeymoon that I booked myself, I might say something like, picture this: you're scrolling on Instagram and you land on the perfect resort, or what looks like the perfect resort. Fast forward to your honeymoon. There's no butler service. It's not on the beach. The rooms are outdated, this, that, and the other. Now let's take a step back to today. All of that can be fixed with a simple conversation from me. And I would talk about, here's what I would do to help you find the perfect resort for your honeymoon or the perfect destination. So there's always ways to storytell. There's always ways to share anecdotes. Even if you're new, even if you've just started, there's always going to be. And for the advisors you're well on your way, you're booking travel all the time, you are a wealth of stories. The things that happen in your day-to-day, the questions you're answering, the client emails that you get, the things that you're solving, that is what you want to lead with, the value of what you do. So kind of going back to what I said earlier as well, instead of trying to convince the skeptics, we're leading with your value. So you're attracting more of the people that inherently want that value. Everybody else is going to follow suit. I promise you this. Instead of spending time trying to convince people I'm better than Expedia, this, that, and the other, just show them why. Because if I'm that couple that's scrolling on Instagram, I'm going to feel a little called out. I'm like, yeah, I totally have bookmarked 10 different resorts that I saw on TikTok. And I'd actually have no idea if they're out of date or if what they look like or what the experience is actually like. I'm going to be like, oh, okay, maybe I should listen to this person then. So instead of trying to constantly fight against this tide of like convincing, why don't we shift the tide? Why don't we shift the approach to leading with value and leading with the things that high value client already wants? The high value client wants the time saved. The high value client wants the curated, and this does not mean luxury, okay? There's lots of different high value clients in different categories, and they don't necessarily need to be luxury or spending tons and tons of money. I have a high value client, in my opinion, is somebody who genuinely is like, I do want to work with a travel advisor. I need expertise. I don't necessarily have time to do this myself. I want this to be easier for me. That's a high value client. That's your perfect ideal client. That's going to be like, boom, here's the information. I'm ready to book. So high value clients, we're leading with the things that they would find the most helpful. What are the problems that they want solved for them? What are the desires, the frustrations? Lead with that. And lead with the things that you're doing day to day. I just spent 5 hours sifting through hotels on the Amalfi Coast, and I found the perfect boutique property for my clients. So you're sharing the things. What are you working on in your business right now? What are you planning? How are you currently helping your clients? Those are all ways to lead with your value, and show them what you do instead of telling them what you do. Instead of saying, I save clients time, I make it easy. It's so much more impactful to be able to share experiences from your day-to-day that you're working on. Okay, how are we doing? How's this resonating with everybody? There is no transcript, but there will definitely be a replay. Yeah, let me jump in the chat and post the prompt for you guys. Can we do this with Estelle? You mean the prompt? Yes. And actually, I will give you guys an even juicier prompt. Let me copy paste over from I have an even better one, so it will chart everything for you as well. So let me share that one with you. Popping over to my couple of other tabs here. Content creation roadmap. Here you go. So this is a little bit of a beefier one. It will actually chart it for you in a nice, beautiful chart for you. Okay. Loving it. Great. You can absolutely do this with Estelle. Any AI tool, it will do the work for you. So let me give you guys a really easy formula, because we talked about leading with your value, showing instead of selling, sharing your own personal insights, understanding your ideal client psychographics. the things that their desires, their fears, the frustrations, all of the things that they are not necessarily voicing out loud, but you want to be able to swoop in and show that you were already thinking about. You've already anticipated that, like, yeah, if you're going to Hawaii, you might not necessarily know what island you want to stay on. Or if you're going to Spain and you've been there before, maybe you don't want to do Barcelona. So you're thinking about what are the desires, the fears, the frustrations. And that chart of 30 that you're going to produce is a really good starting point for your next few social media posts. But I'm going to give you guys a really simple way to wrap this all up and to create better content and to start thinking more strategically about what you post. Because I said social media is a compounding effect. Every single time you post, you're selling in some way, but you can't always lead with the hard sell, the book with me now. So what are some examples of a selling without selling, or subliminal selling, as I like to say? Just like the example I shared earlier, the story of the client the honeymooners who found a resort on Instagram that wasn't the right fit. You're selling your expertise. You're laying for people a frustration and a challenge that they could come up against when they are planning their honeymoon. And without having to say, book now, do this, or book a call, you're selling your value. You're selling what it is that you do. You're selling what it is that people help with. So I love those anecdotes and those stories of the things you're working on daily or weekly or monthly, because that is going to be the best way to sell yourself, is the things you're already doing for clients. So I want to give you a really simple 3-step sales funnel with social media. And it is and you've probably heard this before, but I'm going to break down for you what goes into each stage, because social media is a journey. Like I said, most people are not going to just show up, want a book, and boom, they're your client. It takes a little bit more time, energy, and effort than that. So we have 3 stages of this sales funnel. The first phase is the awareness phase. This is where you're going out there and you're just letting people know that your business exists and that you can help them. So you're creating primarily, I would say, reels in this phase, because reels reach the most amount of people that don't know your business exists yet or don't follow you. Trial reels, even better. That focuses strictly on people that don't follow you. So awareness, you are talking about the common common challenges and frustrations that may come up in the type of travel that you plan. You're calling out your ideal clients. So I would probably just say that time I saved my client's honeymoon. All right, if I'm planning a honeymoon, someone's scrolling and they're planning a honeymoon, they're going to be like, oh, what happened? I have to know. So you're using keywords in your content that reflects the niche and the destinations you specialize in. And you are especially leaning into those psychographics, the fears, the frustrations, and the transformation that people want. So what might that look like? Awareness posts, that time I almost saved my client's honeymoon. Now I'm pulling them in. That would be a great way to show like a fear. People don't want their honeymoon to be wrecked or ruined. So that's a great highlighting a fear that they might have. A frustration. When you have 27 tabs open, but you still don't know what resort to book for your honeymoon to Mexico. That's a frustration. We don't know what to book. And if I'm thinking of the transformation and the desire, POV, you're on your honeymoon, sipping a margarita in Greece, and you didn't have to lift a finger to plan anything. That's the transformation. And neither of you're on your honeymoon, sipping a cocktail at sunset in Greece, and neither of you had to stress about who confirmed the rental car. Boom. So fear, frustration, desire, nice way to wrap that stuff up is in your awareness content. Now, the next phase is the nurture phase. This is where people are like, oh, yeah, okay, POV. Yeah, I want that honeymoon in Greece where I don't have to worry about the rental car. I'm going to follow this person. And then they're going to follow you for a while. And they're going to sit there and they're going to follow you for a little while. So while they're sitting there following you, you have to keep showing up with content that reiterates and shows and highlights all of the ways that you can make travel better and easier for them. So in the nurture phase, you're talking about client experiences that you're having. You're talking about what you're planning for your clients. You're talking about what you're working on, trips that you're going on, stories, pitfalls, Q&As. You're basically just reminding people, hey, I'm here. Hey, I can help. Here are all the ways I can make this easier for you. Here's what I can plan for you. And here are some of my thoughts, my insights that are specifically helpful to you for the type of travel that you're thinking about. or the type of niche that I specialize in as a travel advisor. And then there's the conversion phase. That is the phase where you swoop in and you want people to take action, either to book the call, fill out the inquiry form, or just send you a DM and start the conversation. So this is where you go in with the direct book now, telling people directly, here's how to get in touch with me. Here's how to work with me. Here's what I can do. Here's how I helped. Here's this awesome offer that's currently in my inbox right now that you might want to take advantage of. So awareness, nurture, convert. So every single time that you post now, you want to ask yourself, well, what part of the funnel am I posting for today? Instead of just this big sea of anything and everything that you could be posting. What I love about this 3-step funnel is boom, we now have focus and we have 3 things we're trying to achieve on any given post. If it's awareness, great. We're trying to reach more people. We're just letting them know you exist. If it's nurture, okay, today's the day that we are going to reiterate and show our authority and our credibility. And if it's convert, how do I get people to send me a DM today? So this just narrows the focus, puts the tunnel vision on a little bit so you don't feel like you need to be doing all of the things all at once. Probably you could scroll through, I'm sure you all have a bunch of saved stuff on Instagram that you're thinking for inspiration or maybe things you want to post. Go into that folder, have a look and see, and ask yourself, well, which are the 3 phases of the funnel would this post fall into? Is it awareness? Is it nurture? Is it convert? But that's the question you want to ask yourself every single time you post. What I love about this is that it gives purpose to each post. It gives focus to each post. And again, you're not feeling scattered, trying to do every single thing all at once, all of the time. So the old way of doing things, the pretty beach photos, the beautiful sunsets, the supplier graphics, I hope that we have stopped doing that one at the very least. No supplier graphics. And I feel very, very strongly about this because yes, we love our suppliers. Yes, they're an integral part of what you do. However, they have multi-million-dollar budgets to be marketing their travel products. And so your valuable social media real estate or website real estate or whatever should not be used for them. It should always be used for you because ultimately when you build a level of credibility, trust, authority with your audience, with the people who are thinking of booking with you, it doesn't matter what supplier you're selling. You will always crush it. If they trust you, they're going to book what you recommend always. So my take is no supplier graphics. It has no place in your feed. What you can do is when your supplier partners send you really good things, you can remake it into your own graphic that has your brand and your logo on it and your language on it. And the other thing is, if I'm honest, suppliers right now are not doing a good job of keeping up with what's working on social media either. They are still posting overly salesy, overly curated graphics. They're not necessarily leaning into carousels and other types of content that's doing very well. So they're not your roadmap for what you should do to get clients. And also they're 2 different businesses, right? You are a curator, you are a bespoke, you're offering a bespoke service in some cases. You are a solopreneur and you are the business. So you have to show your face. You have to be the trust, the credibility has to be built with you. When you focus in on that, when that trust and credibility is built with you, the person, now things shift because again, it doesn't matter what supplier you're now selling. People trust you. And that is what you want to be doing with your valuable social media real estate. So come for me, suppliers, but that's a hill I will die on always and forever. Your brand needs to come first. Your authority, credibility, trust needs to come first beyond anything else. So the old way, those pretty beach photos, the gorgeous sunsets, the supplier content, the destination content, that's ultimately just very generic and very general. The new way is storytelling. The new way is face-to-camera videos where you're speaking to the camera. The new way is using destination photos with you in them. And again, you're not necessarily trying to be an influencer, but you do have to play a little bit of the game because why do people trust influencers when you are the travel expert? It's because influencers know how to use their personality and their face to build trust with the audience. So even if they don't actually know more than you, people may trust them more simply by virtue of seeing them more consistently in the feed, seeing their face, hearing their voice, hearing their opinions, whether those opinions are kind of crazy or completely impractical or actually good advice. That's a debate for another day, but people will trust an influencer. So we're borrowing a little bit from their playbook. You are the casual travel expert. You are the casual authority on travel. You're showing up, you're swooping in with credible, vetted information, and you have the added benefit of being able to see people through the full journey. The added benefit of authority of people being able to, you're not, influencers are there to give the advice, but they're not going to be there when things go wrong. So this is the beauty, like I said earlier, of what you get to do and show up as. You're not necessarily showing up to just inspire people. Jamaica's so beautiful, this, that, and the other. Most people now know about Jamaica. They now know about Iceland. They now know about a lot of different places. So your job now is just to frame it from how you can make that experience better and more fulfilling when they go to Jamaica or they go to Iceland or they go to Paris. So you're showing up with content that is highlighting your value and selling your service always and building that credibility and trust. And that's so much easier to do when you show your face on camera. And so I'm going to talk about that for a second, because I don't see nearly enough travel advisors using video content. And you can tell me in the chat, have you ever posted a face-to-camera video where you have spoken to the camera, whether it's sharing a tip or a room tour or something else? Have you ever posted a video where you're talking to the camera? Because this is the era that we're in now, where this is so necessary. And I don't see enough travel advisors doing this, using face-to-camera video. So what I will say is that the advisors that are willing to step up and step into that authority are going to kill it. They're going to do very, very, very well. There's money to be made. There are sales, there's bookings to be had, and it's going to go to the people that are the most visible, that are the most trust or appear to be, right? I know you're all trustworthy here, but ultimately what you put on social media, part of that is perception, and people's perception can swiftly change at any time. So the more they see you, that perception changes. The more they see you, they build that affinity for who you are. Is it awkward? Yes. I know many of you are, in a lot of instances, maybe you're the only business owner in your friend group or your family. And so maybe you're the only person who is out here being personally victimized by Instagram every single day, having to post to grow your business. And so the thought of maybe showing up on camera is a little bit nerve-wracking, but you're also probably thinking, well, what if my friends judge me? What are they going to say? I've never done this before. What are they going to think? What if they talk behind my back? And honestly, you know who's not going to care? You're not going to care. You're not going to care when your client list grows. Now you can afford to check yourself into the Four Seasons or other properties that maybe you only could book for clients in the past. You're not going to care when you're sipping a spritz by the pool, living your absolute best life. So yes, is it uncomfortable? Absolutely. Can it be a little cringy? Absolutely. But ultimately it serves the growth of the business. And that's how I've always looked at showing up on social media. It is awkward. I'm a millennial. And so I did grow up in an era where there were no phones. My first real legitimate phone, it was like an LG. It was so cool at the time. I think I was already in university. So I had my childhood without a camera, I think, like many of you. So the thought of putting my face in, it's just not as intuitive and natural as younger people today, because that's what they grew up with. So for all of us who did not necessarily grow up in front of a camera, and it's a little bit weird, it's a little bit awkward, what's waiting on the other side of that awkwardness and that discomfort is more clients, more credibility, more trust, more invitations from suppliers, because they see you out there posting. So they're like, great, I want that travel advisor to come and do a site visit. I want to host that travel advisor on the fam. So yes, it is going to be weird. It is going to be awkward, but 10 out of 10 would recommend. It is always going to be worth it. All right. Great question from Jessica. Would you recommend having different niches? If you have different niches, should you have an Instagram strictly for theme parks, Instagram strictly for destinations, all inclusives? It depends. Having multiple Instagrams is a pain in the butt and it's a lot of work. So here's what I would do is I would take a look at your spread and think about if I'm looking at the different social media channels, let's say, for example, Instagram, on my list of niches that I specialize in, I would rank them in terms of profitability for your business first. What is most profitable? What do you enjoy the most? That's the first way. And then the second way is, out of this list, what are the top 2 to 3 that has an audience on Instagram? So if I'm thinking of like theme parks, honeymoons, things like that, destination weddings, those are Instagram heavy audiences because that's primarily female. It's usually mom planning the trip, not always, but a lot of the time making the decision around the travel planning. And then honeymoons, destination weddings, a lot of brides, future brides spend time on Instagram, TikTok, looking for inspiration. So I wouldn't recommend necessarily a niched account for every single niche, but there's definitely ways to create synergy and connection between the different niches that you specialize in and sort of like give them their time. And maybe it would be helpful, Jessica, if you could share what niches they are for me. I take it theme parks is probably one of them, but I can answer you a little bit better and maybe give you some more tangible ideas if I know. Okay, so I see some yeses on the face to camera videos. I see a lot of no's, and that's okay. Susan says, yes, but I still feel so uncomfortable. Okay, Susan, I'm going to call you out, Susan, really quickly because I know you and you have been at this for so many years. You're the compounding authority, credibility that you have. Susan, you can do this. You absolutely can do this. I know you probably have countless client stories, examples, and things that you can share. And it doesn't have to be, it could be one thing, a 20-second clip of like you talking about, you won't believe what my client just asked me this morning about insert resort. I have to tell you what I said. And that's it. Or the number one reason I love sending my clients to this resort, or my clients just got back from this resort and you have to see what they had to say about it. And show that testimonial. And I love this resort because of XYZ. So there's so much I know for you, Susan, that you can definitely share in your day-to-day because I know you've got the credibility and the authority. Excuse me for a second. Okay, so this is what I mean. This is an underutilized opportunity for so many of you because I see so many no's in the chats. This is an underutilized opportunity. Face to camera video and excuse me. And all you need to do is pick one little tiny thing that you thought of that was funny, that was interesting, that you can share. What I will say is that face to camera stuff is very casual now. It's very low key. I oftentimes use hooks that make people feel like they're already in the conversation. The conversation's already happening. And if you ask me, insert XYZ, or if you told me this would have happened, I would have said this. Excuse me, you guys. I am a little bit parched. Just got off the plane less than about an hour ago. So Courtney says, I have, but I hate it. You know what? I can relate. My first couple of years when I started to step in front of the camera from behind the camera, that was really uncomfortable. But again, I hated it, but I also really wanted the reward at the end of the rainbow. I was like, I want to be able to grow my business XYZ. So for you, what is that rainbow what is the pot of gold at the end of that rainbow? Is it being able to book yourself in at nicer resorts? Is it more invitations to more prestigious destinations? Is it more connections? Is it more clients? What is it? And let that be like the carrot that you dangle for yourself to keep you motivated. But honestly, you're going to love it. I promise you, when you start getting the results and you start seeing more clients come in the door and that exponentially changes your business, you're going to love it. I promise you that. Nicole, you need to just post it. That's my challenge to you, Nicole. Just post one this week. Nicole says, I have recorded them, but I have not posted them. And that is actually a really great first step in getting comfortable seeing yourself on camera, is simply just recording it. And you can trick your brain. You can mind trick your brain, right? Because your brain's going to think, I don't know, what if people judge me? What are they going to think? I'm the only friend that has to post on social media, and this is so awkward. I can't believe I'm doing this. It's so uncomfortable. So trick your brain. Just be like, we're not actually going to post this. We're just going to film it for fun. We'll add the caption to it. We're going to add the subtitles to it, but we're not posting it. We're not going to post it. It's going to be all good. If you need to trick your brain and talk your brain into it that way, do it that way. But keep it casual, keep it conversational, keep it in the camera roll, but at some point do post it. So Nicole, because I follow you on Instagram, Nicole, so I can stalk you. I know where to find you. My challenge to you is to post it. Don't let it sit in the graveyard of content. Get out there, because the quicker that you do, the quicker that snowball starts to roll. Love it. Nonstop to Paradise says it's on my list. Love it, Laverne, all the above. Susan, I see you again in the chat. And I know you have the authority to do this. I know you've got so much that you could be posting. Gigi Max says, love video, post them all the time. Absolutely. And keep doing it because it works. It can be a bit time consuming. So I'll give you some tips on that. Nicole says, you're right. I ain't going to care. You're absolutely not going to care when you were at the pool checking into the Anantara or the Rosewood or wherever, whatever your dream property is, you're not going to care. And yes, the imposter syndrome truly is real, especially in this world where it's like everyone travels, everyone's well-traveled, everyone's an expert. So we think, because of course we're on that side of social media as well. We get fed that content because we're in the travel world, but you always have something of value to share. That is something I tell myself all the time too. My perspective is important. If you have to say it in the mirror every day, do it. My perspective is important. My thoughts and my insights are valuable to people. Somebody out there is going to need to hear it. I'm chuckling because I see Chris's comment. Creators going to create, haters are going to hate. You're absolutely right, because yes, it is weird and it is awkward. And I can't tell you, when I first started my business, how many friends were like, so like, what's going on? You've been posting a lot on, at the time it was Facebook. You've been posting a lot on Facebook. And I said, yeah, I have a new business now. This is part of what I have to do. And it's really important to me. So I'd love your support. That's a great way to flip it for people in your life who may be a little bit taken aback by it. Okay, so there are plenty of ways to show your face. The first way is simply by just being in your B-roll content. So instead of using just the resort content, the things that you see, you're showing yourself in the moment, doing the thing, whether that's walking by the pool or opening the curtains of your hotel room or pouring yourself a cup of coffee from the little mini bar. You're showing yourself enjoying the destination or the property. And the nice part is you really only need 8 to 10 seconds of you doing something, flipping through a book. That's always my go-to. Flipping through a book, working on my laptop on the hotel balcony, walking by the pool, reading by the pool, whatever. 10-second clips of you all over the resort. So that's the first thing that you can do. On your next trip, look at, what are some ways I can insert myself into this scenario? So it's not just an empty beach of nothing. It's me walking down the beach. So I'll set up my tripod. I will shamelessly do whatever I need to do. Again, I don't care, and I'm not going to care when I'm at my favorite resort, sipping my spritz by the pool, what other people have to say or what they think ultimately. So I'm doing it. I'm bringing the tripod, and it is what it is. So that's the first thing. The next thing is you can do that B-roll stuff at home too. So you don't need to be traveling to create B-roll content, which is just simply 10-second clips. And you don't even really need to do much. You don't need to pan. I literally, so much of my B-roll is just set up and I'm doing something on camera, whether that's reading a book, flipping through a travel magazine, typing on my laptop, scrolling the iPad with maybe an itinerary that you created or something that you're working on, or simply just walking your dog, whatever you want. But 10-second B-roll clips are a great, easy way to get that process started. The step up from there is face-to-camera videos. So you're speaking to the camera. You're sharing a tidbit or an insight or something for 10, 20, 30 seconds, maybe more, but you can start with like a 10 or 20-second little quick tip or insight. You won't believe what my client asked me today about insert resort. And I had to tell her insert thing. And boom, that's it. That's all. So you're focusing on one little tiny micro story. And for every trip you go on, for every itinerary you plan, there's all these little micro stories. The questions your clients asked you in the discovery call, the list of things that they said they might want, and how you were able to match that list of things to a property or an experience or to a supplier, the little touch of personalization that you were able to add to the experience, the client's note from you when they land and they see the resort or the hotel, or there's all these little tiny stories that you can tell about the things that you're working on every single day in your business to make this easier for you. So you're not trying to bend over backwards to come up with ideas. It's really rooted in the things that you're working on right now. Susan has been a travel advisor for almost 40 years. All right, the time is now. Okay, got it. So we've got Disney, Universal, families, and then sandals couples. So sandals for couples, so honeymoon, destination, weddings, and anniversaries. Got it. So I think you still have a lot of crossover from the Disney Universal for families to the couples anniversary style trips. So that's how I would start to like weave that story in. If you already have an existing audience that is primarily family focused with Disney and Universal, I would tie the sandal stuff in by focusing on like you said, the couples, a mom and dad getting away, anniversaries and celebrations. It's debatable whether you should start an Instagram that's specifically for honeymoons and destination weddings. What I will say, the pros and the cons of that. The pro being, if it's very much for honeymoons and destination weddings, it makes it easier to attract that crowd. And that crowd is very prevalent on social media. They are very popular on Instagram. They're very, very present there. And then the con of that is that it is more work. So that's something to consider is, can you seamlessly weave the honeymoon and destination wedding and stuff in with the family? I feel like it's a little bit of a stretch just because they're two just vastly different audiences. I do see how you can pull in the sandals for like mom and dad getaway, taking time alone, that kind of stuff. But then the destination weddings and the honeymoons, that's such a specific audience. And when we think of like the age demographic of those people right now, they're very much like, let's say 22 to 40, in and around that age group for the honeymoons and the destination weddings. So they're going to be very much on TikTok and on Instagram as well. So maybe what you want to do is dedicate your time on Instagram to Disney, Universal, mom and dad, sandals, couples, getaways, anniversaries. And then over on TikTok, it would be honeymoons, destination weddings, anniversaries. And you can still weave in some couple stuff there too. All right, Susan says challenge accepted. Go live or record a video. I would recommend starting with recording the videos. Lives are great. In terms of their ranking in the algorithm, I don't love the way that they are pushed out. So I would record the video and I would post it as a reel. Kimberly, not to worry, Kimberly. I'm seeing you in October at our conference. And Kimberly says, I try ... sometimes. Not to worry, Kimberly. I'm going to see you in October and we're going to work on it. So we will be creating content at the conference in October and together in person. So you leave that with a camera roll full of professional videos. Video posts will always get, especially with face, they will always get, number one, more interactions, but the algorithm will absolutely also push them more. I'm seeing this right now in our conference content that we're posting. All of the content that has my face in it for the conference reaches more non-followers than the generic like stuff that's maybe not necessarily faces, or the faces are showing quickly. The algorithm is trained to recognize when people's faces are in content. All right. The video challenge does kick off this week. So you'll see later today, Estelle, there'll be a button so you can click on Start Challenge. We have our kickoff call tomorrow at 2 p.m. ET. So we're kicking it off, and I will be showing you angles and lighting. We'll talk about some different styles of shooting so you can get the ball rolling. And then Estelle is going to be there to be your daily. She's going to be there to offer you daily motivation and write your scripts and things like that. Trick your brain, Nicole. So I can't wait to see your first video. Can't wait. I see a question about what about stories? Stories are fantastic if you're looking at your sales funnel, awareness, nurture, convert. Stories are golden for the nurture and for the convert phase. They're especially good for reminding people, keeping top of mind, telling them what you're working on, reintroducing yourself, that kind of stuff, and just keeping, stories are very casual. They're meant to feel off the cuff. So thinking about that, you want to be sharing the things you're working on daily. You want to talk about what your clients are booking, run little polls to get interactions from people. And then they're really good for the conversions. I do have a stories strategy that I teach inside the collective. We have a course all about selling on stories, and you can walk yourself through that course if you join the collective. But it breaks down a 3 times a week posting schedule for your stories and exactly what to post in those 3 times a week to nurture and convert people. Stories are great for selling because they are your warmest audience. Those are the people that are most tapped in, know most about what you're doing if you're posting, and most inclined to inquire. So if you start seeing familiar people there, you don't recognize them on your client list, those are potential warm leads. And so I would spend more time with those people. If I'm posting stories consistently and I see that there's certain people watching them consistently, I'm going to make sure I'm going to their content, I'm posting, I'm sending them reactions back and forth and things like that, because that's nurturing. I will be doing this live. The lives this week they're a little bit different. So tomorrow and Wednesday will be at 11. Thursday will be at 1 p.m. and Friday will be at 11. So I tried with our guests that are joining us this week. I just couldn't quite make it happen with the scheduling, but let me share what's in store for the rest of the week. Today was selling on social with me, but we have some guests. We do have some guests coming up this week, which is very exciting. So let me share with you what else we're going to be talking about. And a couple of other things that you might be interested in knowing. So we've got ChatGPT marketing tips tomorrow with Kate Thomas. And on Wednesday, we're talking about the fountain of untapped bookings. That's going to be a really good one. They're all going to be really, really good with Crane Johnson. Thursday, we're talking about sales call strategy and how you overhaul that. So for anybody who is getting on your sales calls with your clients, or your discovery calls, or your complimentary planning calls, whatever you call it, but you don't have a repeatable format for how to lead that call, the right questions to ask to qualify people, get a better understanding of where they're at in their journey, and get the yes, then you're going to want to tune into that session. We'll talk about how you overhaul that strategy. And so you have something repeatable. And so you're asking the right questions. There's an art to sales calls. There's an art to the questions that you ask people, in what order the response is, to get them to say yes to you. So we're going to talk about that and unpack that on Thursday. And then on Friday, we're ending off with just me all by my lonesome. And we're talking about how to amplify your authority in your local community. So what are some other things that you can do beyond social media, beyond the client experience and ChatGPT and the sales call, to amplify who you are as that travel expert, leaning into the low-key, casual, amazing expert that you are, and getting more people to see you as that, recognize you, refer you, all the good stuff. So that's what's coming up this week. Couple of really quick things. If you are listening to this right now and you're like, Nikita, this all sounds great, but when am I going to find the time? When am I going to find the time to do all of these things? I have to tell you really quickly before I get going about Altitude. This October, we're getting together in person for the top sales and marketing conference for travel advisors. So if you are looking at your sales process and you don't have a lead magnet that's converting people, getting people on your list, you don't have a client experience workflow, you're not really sure how to quite train ChatGPT to sound more like you. You are trying your sales calls, but you're not quite getting the amount of conversions and yeses that you want. And you just don't really feel like you have systems in place. Everything's on your shoulders right now. It's all dependent on you, and you just don't feel like you ever have time to breathe. We are hosting Altitude this October. If you comment conference on this live, you can get a link to find out more about it. We are literally, again, I'm going to sound like a real hater. I don't, and this is not the case. I love our suppliers, but I'm going to sound like a real hater, a real supplier hater right now. And I've already talked about it today, but this is not a conference where we're not talking about suppliers. We're not having presentations from cruise lines. We're not talking about destinations. This is strictly about you, your business, and your bottom line. That's our sole focus. So this is about putting the systems in place to attract, nurture people, get the booking, and then keep nurturing them. So they come back and book with you again and again, and they refer you to their friends, and they rave about you, and they can't live without you. This is about putting the systems in place to streamline all of that in your business and give you back that ease. Because I'm going to guarantee you, maybe you could tell me in the chat, you probably have a full plate right now. And you've probably been saying for months, I'll get to that lead magnet, or maybe one of these days I'll get a client experience workflow. I don't really know how social media works, but I don't have time to figure it out. I don't know. I guess ChatGPT is a thing. I'll try and figure it out. And you're constantly waiting for time to appear in the calendar to set up these systems. And what I will tell you is that the time's never going to come. And it's not because you're not disciplined. It's not because you're not good at time management. It's not because you are spending too much time on other things. It's literally because your plate is full and you just don't know, or haven't, I'm also guilty of this, haven't fully accepted that your plate is probably full. And what you need is carved out time to get these systems in place so you can get more leads on your email list. You can get more traffic to your inquiry form. You can have confidence in every sales call you step into that you're going to get a yes. You need systems for that. And what we're doing at Altitude is we're carving out the time, getting that work done once and for all so that you can breathe a little bit easier in your business, and so things don't slip through the cracks. And so it's not necessarily about your day-to-day time and you being available, because that is a trap. It is a trap to think, oh, when I have more time, I'll figure this out. There will never be more time. There's always more things. So this conference is strictly about the sales and the marketing systems that will work in your business while you are busy serving your clients and doing other things. So if you're interested, comment conference. You'll get all the details, and I hope I see you this October. All right, so tomorrow we're live talking about ChatGPT and marketing. Kate and I are going to go over some really good tips on how to better train your GPT, on how to flip your marketing so it isn't so generic and so it doesn't sound like everybody else's, because we're all using ChatGPT, and I come from a writing background. So I can spot ChatGPT writing a mile away. I've also been using ChatGPT heavily for the last year. It's studying it, its sentence structures, how it works, how it functions. So I can spot ChatGPT content from a mile away. Tomorrow's session is about how to start sounding more like you again, but still maintain the time savings that you have from using GPT or using Claude or whatever AI tool you're using, because they're not going anywhere. I love my GPT. I'm on that thing all day, every day. So it's not going anywhere. So it's just a matter now of figuring out how to use it so it best serves you and your business while maintaining your voice and making sure that you sound distinctly like you. Definitely, this is going to be a recurring, we're picking themes every year. So this year is all about sales and marketing. We'll see what happens. All right. That's all from me. And one other thing I didn't even mention, we're creating content at the conference. So if you've never done a brand photo shoot, a professional photo shoot, or you haven't done one in a long time, or you've never shot face-to-camera videos, we got experts for that. They're going to be there to help you do that. This is a full overhaul of your marketing and your sales. And a big part of marketing is showing your face, like I just talked about basically this whole session. So in our morning sessions at the conference, we'll spend it on the workshops, on your systems, your lead magnet, all the other systematic things. In the afternoons, we're spending time on content and on those professional shoots and all the good stuff to help you step into that authority. So it's going to be really good. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. We're talking about Chat GPT and marketing tomorrow. So I'll see you at 11 ET. Happy posting, and I'll catch you guys later.